So many of you already know that I'm planning to offer an introduction to Vedic astrology course between August and November of 2025 with a focus on spiritual harmony and self-knowledge as it relates to Vedic astrology. Now, you also know that it's been around 7 or 8 years since I've been engaged in astrology professionally. You know that I've written several books on astrology and that I've developed the actual Vedic Astrology Apprenticeship Course. In it from 2005 through 2018, that was my vocation. That's what I did to provide for my resources. However, in 2018, 2019, I began to dedicate my life fully to teaching and sharing Kriya Yoga with the support of my teacher, Roy Jean Davis, who was a student of Paramahansa Yogananda. But in that time, I personally have still been engaged in astrology. I use it for many things in my own life. And when I interact with students, when students apply for the Kriya Yoga Apprenticeship Program, I request that they give me their birth information because that helps me understand them better and it helps me understand our relationship better. And many students have questions about astrology. Now, Vedic astrology is one of the most important spiritual sciences to come out of India. And so I get these questions. And in the last several months, I've been pretty enthusiastic about responding to these questions. And it occurred to me it would be great to do a full course for beginners, specifically those interested in meditation and Kriya Yoga, on astrology and how it can be helpful for them. We're going to cover a lot of topics within the 12 weeks that we have together. But there are four main principles or four main ideas that we can look at to understand why astrology can be so important for us. The first one is that it helps us to understand the theory of karma. It helps us understand our impersonal relationship with karma because it is actually can be very impersonal. And when you can see it that way, it takes a lot of stress off of life. It takes a lot of stress off of who we think we are and what we need to do. And we can look at things more objectively. We can understand how each of us are a molecule of karma or a molecule of astrological influences. And just like when molecules come together in real life, they behave in different ways. When you get together with different people, there's a different reaction, there's a different experience that comes about. And when you can understand the astrological chart, you begin to see that how you respond to others and how others respond to you is, again, not personal. It's just an effect of the karmas that are represented by your astrological chart. And this can be very free. This applies to family, friends, parents, student-teacher relationships, coworkers, all of it. We can also see how difficult or how easy our karma is in certain areas of life. We can learn to see how easy or difficult will growth and change be for us. And this can be very good because it can show us here is a path that is open, or it can show us you have to do a lot of work. And that's okay because that's knowledge. And if we know ahead of time how much work we have to do, we're not going to be surprised when it takes us a little while to be successful in certain areas. And again, astrology can show us this. Another aspect of astrology is its capacity for timing, understanding how to properly time your life. Everything has a season. Everything has a time of expression. We can't escape this because we are a part of nature, just like the plants are a part of nature and the animals are a part of nature. Well, the stars, the sun, the moon, they're also a part of nature. And so as a yogi, if we know even just a little bit about astrology, we can learn the best times to take action for success in our lives. And sometimes we can learn that there's no good time to take action. And so then you have to choose if you want to move forward or not, just understanding the possible effects of that. But when you understand the timing of things, just like any other area of life, you don't waste your energy. And we have to remember in yoga, there's this idea, this principle of brahmacharya, of conserving your vital resources. And most successful people, yes, they're intelligent. Yes, they're driven. Yes, they're also lucky. But oftentimes it's timing, which is very important. And so astrology can reveal this to us. We can also see the flow of karma around us because sometimes we go into our day and it just seems like one thing after the other is putting up an obstacle. Astrologically, that can be, we can see that. We can understand what is going on in the day that might cause us to have more obstacles. Or we can also see what's going on in the day that would be more beneficial to a positive flow and greater success. Astrology reveals this to us. We're going to go into these in detail within this course that I mentioned. The third aspect of astrology, which I find to be very helpful for us, is its capacity to give us self-understanding. Its capacity to reveal to us how the energies of the planets are combined at the moment we were born, which shows us the patterns of our karma. And it can reveal to us what our strengths are, what our natural strengths are, what we can lean into. It can show us where our weaknesses are, where the things that we need to work on. It can also, with a little bit of finesse, it can reveal our blind spots. Although usually we have to be working with either an advanced spiritual teacher or a very objective and skillful astrologer for this, because our blind spots, we don't know that they're there. And so if someone points them out to us, it's easy for us to disagree because we can't see them. But astrology can point these out. Again, if you know an astrologer or someone who has a bit of finesse in working with you to show those. And the bigger picture of astrology, at least what was really helpful for me, was that it helped to reveal the nature of life. So the philosophy of astrology, the principles of astrology, the little details about how certain aspects of the astrological chart work, or about how certain planets do better in certain signs, or the meanings of houses as areas of our life. This really puts into perspective what I like to call, and one of my friends, Ernst Wilhelm, who's a brilliant astrologer, I would call it the book of life. It's as though by studying astrology and the principles of astrology, you actually begin to see sort of the mechanisms of why things behave the way they do, or why certain principles give certain results, or you begin to see aspects of your nature, sort of the rules behind them. And when you get to glimpse kind of the code of the field of consciousness, you feel a little freer because it's as if someone gave you a book that says, if you behave this way, if you take this action, if you live this way, you'll get this result. And all of us are an expression of, or really the planets are an expression of us, but the planets, they're aspects of our personality. They're aspects of our deeper soul nature. All of us have Mars. All of us have a Saturn. All of us have a moon, again, metaphorically, spiritually, energetically within us. And each of those planets represents a power of our consciousness. The sun is a capacity for leadership. The sun is a capacity for doing the hard work without a whole lot of reward. If we think about a true king or a true queen or a true leader, they're essentially sacrificing their lives to guide the masses positively, assuming that the sun is working well. We all have that within us. And so we can begin to see what is the nature of the quality of the sun in our astrological chart, and how can we tap into that in such a way that we express the highest nature of it. If you look at astrology like that, if you study astrology like that and you use it as a tool for self-knowledge, use it as a tool to understand the book of life, it can be very empowering. It can be very freeing. It can also give you a lot of insight into just the nature of reality itself. So I've always enjoyed astrology for that reason. Some of it is deep and some of it is complex, and some of it really requires a lot of contemplation. But it's in that process of learning, of wondering, of sort of being alive with it that things start to make a little more sense to you. It's a really wonderful um, model of life. So these are the things that we're going to be looking at within this course. And we are going to start at the very beginning, where if you don't know much about astrology at all, you don't know how to read a chart, you don't know anything about what a sign is or what a house is in a chart. We're going to go through all of that. But the focus is going to be on developing greater spiritual harmony through this science and developing greater self-knowledge. Now, I find all of this fascinating. When I first began practicing Kriya Yoga, the next step was studying Ayurveda, but then I was introduced to astrology. And astrology was a natural thing for me, even though I didn't believe in it at all. I remember having a book on astrology when I was in high school and even in college, and I thought, well, it's kind of silly. But then once I began studying Kriya Yoga and I read Autobiography of a Yogi and I began to consider Shri Yukteswar as an astrologer, I reached out to a Vedic astrologer and I had a few sessions. And I was pretty surprised at how accurate their assessments can be from someone who didn't even know me. It was an easy step because I did study philosophy and psychology in college. And so that really is the nature of astrology. So ultimately, when you think about astrology, try to think of it from a spiritual perspective. Try to think of it as a tool for understanding karma, for understanding the laws of karma, the rules of karma. Think of it as a way to better time your life, to be more efficient with your life, because we only have a certain amount of time. And when we can live in harmony with the forces of nature, with the seasons as they change, we're more likely to be successful in our goals. We're more likely to be successful on our spiritual path. Think about astrology as a method of self-understanding and self-observation. In yoga, we call this svadhyaya, self-study. Now, we don't want to be obsessive and compulsive about it. And that's something we'll talk about within the course because it's very easy to give away your power to astrology. But it is possible to engage astrology in such a way that you really learn a lot about yourself and you learn how to really take care of yourself better, have better expectations for yourself and others, and you learn how to cultivate these qualities of your consciousness, these powers of your field of consciousness, which are the planets. And at the end of the day, this dovetails really beautifully with all the Vedic sciences because it gives you insight into the nature of life itself. So if this is something that you're interested in, I'd like to invite you to join us in this upcoming course. It'll begin August 7th and run through November. We'll have 12 weeks of pre-recorded lectures, which you'll be able to access through Teachable. And we'll also meet throughout that time, I think several times a month in Q&A sessions, so live meetings so that you can ask your questions. And my goal with this course is to show you how to read an astrological chart, again, from the Vedic astrological perspective, so that you're informed and you're educated. But really to give you the tools and to give you the knowledge so that you can grow spiritually, so that you can live in harmony with nature and life, and so that you can ultimately grow into greater self-understanding and self-knowledge, Atma Vidya, knowledge of the self. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you in class, and I look forward to exploring the sacred science once again with you.